Baltimore to try to find an option for a tasty juice.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And they're not easy to come by. The Whole Foods market there doesn't have them. So I looked up a juice bar and found one called Liquid Earth.
Oh, right on.
Vegetarian restaurant. Well, so I've managed my way over to this vegetarian restaurant. And, of course, the vegetarian restaurant, run by your classic, central casting urban hipsters, was fantastic. And it was that part of town. And I loved it. It was just great. And I've started to notice that every city has one of these little hipster parts of town.
Well, St. Louis, yeah, they have University City.
Oh, is that
Central
what it
West
is?
End. Yep, that's the uptown of St. Louis.
Yeah, and it's right on the edge. Like you go 2 or 3 blocks and you get some real impoverished neighborhood, and then you pull over right next to it, and there's your little hipster town.
Yep.
And it's got all of it. It's like it's following a script.
Bicycle messengers.
Oh, yeah.
Sundresses.
Yep. Bike shop.
Chicks in boots.
I'll tell you. I mean, I made a double look at a guy's classic dirty hipster mustache.
Yeah.
It was everything I could do to not pull out my iPhone with the hipstomatic lens on it and ask this fellow for a picture. But I'm
going to give you $1. I'm going to take your picture.
Yeah, right. Like you're in a developing country,
right?
Taking pictures of the kids. No, but I had a great time in Baltimore doing some social media training. Some of the listeners might not know that I'm a co-owner of a social media training company.
I think I read about that company in the Star Tribune.
Hey, you did happen to read about that in the Star Tribune. That's right. Thanks for bringing that up.
That is the most perfect segue ever.
Yeah,
there, Will.
Yeah, product placement. That's right. If you were flipping through your Saturday paper, you would see in the lifestyle section a little news story about social phonics at socialphonics.com.
Boy.
It was a very nice little story. Talked about our business, talked about what we do, how we encourage nonprofits and religious leaders to engage in social media, do training on those kinds of things. So it was a nice little story.
Sure.
To have a little shout out for the social phonics.
The
effort.
hard work that you do.
Yeah. It's nice to have someone say thank you every now and again.
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding about that.
Yeah,
but
I got nothing here.
Will, we wanted to check in with you on what's going on with the Occupy Minnesota. You are our hands on the ground. No, our feet on the ground, our hands in the pocket guy. Yeah, I'm walking on your hands.
A circus performer.
Here's Will with his hands on the ground reporting from Century Plaza.
Everything's upside down here, Doug.
Can't tell why. And I have an incredible sensation of blood running into my head. Will, what's going on over there at the Occupy Minnesota for those of us who are only noodling around on the occasional news story?
They've been pretty active down there this past week and past month. They've been rallying at some people's houses in Minneapolis, basically occupying people's homes that are getting foreclosed.
Oh, is that right?
And they they have a lawyer working pro bono with them, and he helped a woman keep her house. And they kept her from getting foreclosed, so that made national news. They had a segment on it on Rachel Maddow this week, actually.
Yeah,
it was about Occupy MN.
Yeah,
and so winter coming, they were trying to put some tents up this week. They tried to put 99 tents up, I believe, for 99%.
Right. Yeah, I heard that. How did that go? They were going to try to say, instead of moving the tents like you've asked us, city officials, we're going to double down and put 99 tents up to represent the rest of us.
Yep. Middle of the night, the police came in and tore them all down, threw everybody out of their tents, and took the tents down and kept them. So that was, it didn't get ugly, though. They weren't macing anybody. I think a couple guys got roughed up a little bit. They were resisting more than some other ones.
Yeah, because they weren't going to move or because they didn't want to go? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, a lot of people decided they were going to do just dead weight sort of inside their tents.
Yeah.
But the police just...
Now, I know, and I appreciate this so much about the Occupy movement, that what they're trying to do is organize themselves in a different fashion according to this consensus leadership model. And I know that makes it difficult sometimes for people to know what's happening because there's not an official spokesperson to go to get the answer to that question.
Correct.
And in a media world where you want a little media attention in order to keep that thing alive, how is that part coming?
That's a good one. That's where they've probably been struggling the most. Trying to get consensus on certain things is where they really have been having problems. Because there's so many different hands in it with different agendas. That's kind of, I'm sure that's what they're all struggling with.
Yeah.
All across the country.
Yeah, right.
It's the same issue.
Well, do you have any sense from having friends down there and being on your hands down there yourself? Do you have any sense about what the future of it is here in the Twin Cities for the Occupy MN?
I don't. there's kind of a call for a lot of the cold weather cities to, it's called Occupy Everywhere. And so people will be doing libraries and, centers inside of buildings everywhere.
I see.
And so, that's going to work. I think they just want to get through spring because it's going to fire back up again in spring everywhere. I know. I mean, there's...
is that your sense? Your sense is that it's not going to die away.
No.
It's going to, when the weather accommodates a bit more.
In fact,
and after the holidays.
Yeah.
We got spring break.
Yeah.
You got to squeeze in
Just
there.
after spring break. Yeah. Going to come back?
I think that was the hope with a lot of the city leadership, that it was going to die. But I mean, I can say, I promise it's not going to happen. They're going to come back probably full force in the spring.
Well, I know there's been a movement. I'm trying to get these folks on the Doug Pagitt Radio show at DougPagittRadio.com and on AM 950 to talk about using church buildings as the center points for that occupying.
Yep.
And so I know there's been a movement afoot to try to make that happen, especially in some of the urban church buildings that often sit empty. And so maybe you could use those facilities as a place that you'd organize out of.
There's been a lot of that.
Yeah, well, very good. Well, thank you, Will. Hey, stick with us here on the show. We're going to have our advice guru, Carla Barnhill. She's going to be with us here in the next segment. And then John and I are going to give you little lessons learned in the spiritual endeavor of going without. Mm-hmm. So what does a person learn when they go without something that has been so central to their existence?
And no one knows more about going without than me.
Yeah, you really are the picture of a guy who goes
of denial, of self-denial.
Self-denial. So in other words, lessons from a guy who for the first time is going without. And then the cripes that come on, and then you got to be kidding me, of course. And then we're going to be joined by Deborah Arca in hour 2, and Deborah is a part of a website called Pathos.com, which is bringing about a new way of religious conversation in North America, and it's awesome. And then of course the Right On. So stick with us here. Our little afternoon delight. If you want to be connected to the radio show beyond your listening ears, head over to the Facebook page at facebook.com/Doug Pagitt Radio. And while you're there, also go to the AM 950 page.
Do it
AM
now.
950 Radio. Log in, log on, boot up, whatever you do to do that. Turn your phone on and stick with us here. Our little afternoon delight, our cocktail party, religious radio that's not quite right on AM 950, the Progressive Talk of Minnesota, and at DougPagittRadio.com around the country, and maybe even in the space station.
HIV